I'm going to be hosting my first ever game jam, the Inbound Shovel Jam, and it's going to have several $100s in cash prizes, including a special rule to make things easier for new game developers that have never entered a game jam before. So if you're a beginner, this will be the perfect jam for you, because at least one of the winners will be someone who has never entered a game jam before because of the rule. And in this video, I'll go over all of those details, how the rule works, but the most important thing is that the jam page is live right now on itch. You can go to itch.io/shoveljam2025 to sign up. The link will also be in the description of this video, the pinned comment, all that stuff. So if you're interested, go ahead and join the jam as soon as possible. Also, I finally created a Discord for my YouTube channel. People have been asking me to do this for a long time, and the jam has finally given me the push I needed to actually go ahead and set that up. So if you want to participate in the jam, you can join the Discord so that you'll get announcements about the jam. I even created a find a team forum on the Discord so that you can try to find other people to work with if you want to work in a team. Now, just in case you're new to this whole thing, a game jam is just a special event where a bunch of developers have a limited amount of time to make a game based on a specific theme. My game jam is going to start on July 11th and run until July 20th. It's a 10-day jam. And I specifically picked a 10-day jam because I wanted more people to be able to participate. You aren't expected to spend like 200 hours over those 10 days working on the game. It's more scheduled around being able to put in just a couple hours after work or after school during the week. Or if you're busy on one of those weekends, you can just join in with the time that you have available. But to be super clear about it, this schedule means that we're going to announce the theme on July 11th and everyone can start making their games, and then the submissions will close on the 20th. So the important date to have on your calendar is the jam begins July 11th. Once submissions close on the 20th, the whole next week from July 20th to July 27th will be the judging phase. Everyone who participated in the jam will be able to play each other's games and rate them. And I am going to be live streaming myself here on YouTube playing games from the jam all week long, from Monday to Sunday. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel here so that you don't miss those streams. Then, after the judging phase finishes, I'll post a video on YouTube announcing the winners that will be receiving their cash prizes. I'd like that video to come out on Friday, August 1st. That's what I'm going to aim for. But I want to make sure I take the time to play the games and judge everything fairly and give all the games their proper consideration. But I'm not going to rush through everything just to make the video. But sometime shortly after the jam ends, I'll post the video going over who the winners are. And now that we're talking about the winners, that means I can explain how the prizes are going to work. I thought it would be way more fun if there were several big prizes, rather than like one huge winner takes all prize or like a bunch of small prizes, so that several people who enter the jam have a chance to get one big prize. And each of those prizes is going to be $100, $100 USD. I chose this amount because it's the upfront cost of putting a game on Steam. So if you make a game for this jam and it wins because people like it, you'll have the funds needed to upload that game to Steam immediately. It just made sense to me that $100 is the perfect amount for a prize. And there are going to be 6 winners total. The first winner is whoever gets first place in the community vote. So after everyone's votes are tallied, Itch will automatically calculate who got the best score overall from all the entries. And that entry will be our first winner. Then I'm going to pick my top 3 games from the jam. I'll play a bunch of games on stream during the voting period. And if there aren't that many entries, I'll just play all of the games, but I don't know how many people are going to enter. I'll make sure I just play all the games that get relatively high on the overall ratings. It really depends on how many people join. But either way, I'm going to play a whole bunch of games and pick my favorite 3. And my top 3 are going to be winners number 2, number 3, and number 4. Winner 5 is going to come from that special rule I mentioned earlier for new game devs. And I'm really excited about this one. When I had the idea for this rule, that's like when I realized I needed to do a jam. So the same way I'm going to pick the best 3 games overall, I'm also going to pick the best game submitted by someone who has never entered a game jam before. So that by virtue of the rules, at least one of the winners of this game jam will be someone who is brand new to game jams. So if you're interested in making games, but you haven't taken the plunge yet to get started, I wanted this jam to be a slam dunk, no-brainer to enter, because you'll be competing for a prize directly against other beginners. If you've been looking for a reason or a sign that you should get started with game dev, I want this jam to be your sign, because making games is awesome. And for a bit of transparency, I really wanted to run this game jam as an opportunity for people to get into game development, to have an excuse to get started. I've gotten so many comments on my YouTube shorts about people wanting to get started with game development, but for some reason, it feels impossible for them. And I was the same way. I always dreamed about being an indie game dev and making my own game. And even when I was working at 343 Industries on Halo Infinite, it still felt out of reach, like something I couldn't actually do on my own. But I love to watch indie dev content on YouTube, especially when they would participate in game jams. And something they said all the time was that if you wanted to get into game dev, you should do game jams. And so I decided to enter one to see what it was like. And then I did another and another and another. And eventually I entered the Vim Jam, where the theme of the jam was On the Edge. And that's where Isadora's Edge was born. I was so proud of the game I made for that jam, and one of the people who played it left a comment saying that the boss fight in that game reminded them of Hollow Knight. That gave me the confidence boost I needed to try and turn my little single-level platformer game jam game into a full game. And I'm hoping that my game jam can help another aspiring dev out there move down the same path I did. The way I hope that Devlog can look at Isadora's Edge with a sense of pride in what he inspired. Essentially, so many people ask me how do I get started that I wanted to give them a direct answer right now, which is do my game jam. But with that long diatribe aside, I've only talked about 5 of the 6 winners, and the 6th winner is going to be chosen by an extra special guest judge, the VTuber INSANDIO. She has a YouTube channel where she plays indie games, she does Let's Plays, she usually picks pretty obscure indie games to play too. And that's one of the reasons she's going to make a great judge. She has a very diverse taste in indie games, and it can be somewhat different than my own a lot of the time. And she has a lot of experience playing indie games in all kinds of genres. She's played plenty of Game Jam games on her channel before, just for the fun of it. So I think that makes for a perfect guest judge, someone who loves Game Jam games for no reason. And as people with a passing familiarity with my channel already know, INSANDIO is also my wife. So the game that she picks as her favorite game in the jam will be our 6th winner. So to summarize, the winners of this game jam will be the community pick, INSANDIO's pick, my top 3 picks, and the beginner award, the number 1 newbie. And all 6 of those winners will receive a $100 prize. All right, Kenneth from the future here, because this originally was going to be where I tell you about the sponsor of this video. And I was going to say that thanks to the sponsor of this video, I will have the funds to run this game jam with cash prizes, like they were going to make it possible. Because, you know, the sponsor gives me the money, and then I use the money to give out prizes for the jam. But unfortunately, this sponsor sort of fell through at the last minute. But no worries on the prizes, those are still totally good. Nothing's changing there. I'm just going to fund it out of pocket. This does mean that I instead have the opportunity to promote my Patreon and channel memberships, because those are live now. People have been asking me to create a Patreon for a while now, and this finally gave me the push to actually do it. So first, I want to talk about the Patreon, because I really loaded that up with like a bunch of cool stuff, I think. At any backer tier, you get access to the private Isadora's Edge Discord, where we talk about development and about the game, in addition to getting monthly Isadora's Edge wallpapers, either featuring Isadora or characters or bosses from the game, that sort of thing. And I noticed while recording that I actually have one of those wallpapers on my desktop right now that you can see in the background. This one right here, it recently got delivered. I think it's one of the best ones. I really like it. I think this one is going to be either the 2nd month or 3rd month wallpaper that comes out. So if you think this looks cool, these are the kind of wallpapers that will be on the Patreon. And personally, I think this looks amazing. There's a bunch of other cool stuff in there. I'm going to try to do monthly dev updates where I talk about like what I've been working on, show off some of the content, because we have like enemy designs, environmental designs, and concept art, cool stuff like that for the game. So those are going to be on the Patreon. And then additionally, I'll have some private, like exclusive Discord channels where I will post stuff that's like currently work in progress. Like for example, here's one of the like work in progress posts for like a character design. So if you want to see that before we've made any finalized decisions and like give your input and talk about which one you think, in addition to being able to straight up ask like, oh, what is this character for? I want to know more about the design before I say which one I think is best. You'll be able to see this sort of stuff in addition to like, you know, environment, concept art and stuff. Let me tease a piece of concept art here too. Like, boom, Malif made this and I think it looks really cool. So these are the kind of things that you'll be able to see in the exclusive dev channel. There's a tier for becoming an early access playtester. So I can send you builds of the game for stuff I'm testing, like level design, bosses and stuff like that, so that you can actually playtest the game ahead of time, and your feedback and the way you enjoy the game will heavily influence how it ends up in the final design. And I do need to say that I'm not super close to having stuff playtest ready, so that might actually be a couple months out. But once you sign up as a playtester, you'll go into like my playtester document, and so I'll still be able to reach out to you. It's not like if you are a playtester subscription for like 2 months and then cancel, you're not going to be able to playtest anymore. And eventually I'll be opening playtests to everybody in the Discord, not just the early access playtesters. But if you want to be the first people to get your hands on any sort of like playtesting build, like there's a tier for that. In addition to like a bunch of other stuff, you can go check out the Patreon if you want to see all the different like reward tiers available and all the stuff I'm planning. And obviously the more successful the Patreon is, the more stuff I'll be able to do for the Patreon and for the channel in general. Because honestly, a lot of what I'm being held back on right now is time and monetary. Any support on the Patreon will go towards the channel and go towards the game. So that'll enable me to make better content for everyone out there watching this, as well as to make development progress on the game faster and like better stuff, like higher quality. So any support on the Patreon means a lot. And then also channel memberships, which I've opened on YouTube. If you subscribe as a channel member, it's just a flat $2.99 a month. There's no like extra tiers or anything. And for that $2.99 a month, you get access to the Isadora emotes. Right now there are 5, and you can use those 5 in the comments if you're a member. And when I'm live streaming, you'll be able to like use those emotes during the stream too. And I think the more members I get on YouTube, the more emote slots I have. So I have a bunch of emotes ready to go to upload to YouTube once I meet those member requirements. And now that I think about it, it might be cool to have like polls or something on when I'm finally doing those live streams on which member emotes should be added, because I have like a bunch in the backlog, so I can like show off a couple and let you vote on which one you want to be the next one once a slot opens up. So yeah, really cute Isadora emotes. Maybe Editor Senpai can flash them on screen right here, because I think they're super cute. As a member, you also get like a little badge next to your name in the comments and on the live stream. It's a little shovel, obviously, and it starts off basic, and the longer you're a member, it like upgrades until you get like a really sick shovel at the end. So those are like the YouTube like built-in platform rewards for being a member. Also, you get to watch any early access like member videos I post, which I think I talk about later in this video, but might be like some more content updates behind the scenes. If I make any videos for the $3 Patreon tier for like a dev update video, I'll also post it as a member video on YouTube, so you won't lose access to any of that dev update stuff. And then also one thing that's in Patreon and memberships are like channel shoutouts, like credits. So at the end of my videos, you can have your like name scroll down and be displayed as like a credited person. Including on Patreon, you can actually get a credit in Isadora's Edge, the game proper, when it comes out. But talking about credits, I need to shout out the 2 people that already signed up as members of the channel. Once I sensed that the sponsorship deal might be falling through, I decided I needed to launch my memberships and set up a Patreon, so I got started on it right away. And as soon as my memberships were live and I mentioned it in a community post, 2 people signed up immediately before I even had a chance to like talk to you in a video about it. So those are my super 2 early special adopter shoutouts for this video. The first is Lyra. Now, she's a mod for the channel, so I mean, huge shout out to Lyra. She keeps the community nice and sanitized. I never have to see any like really hateful or aggressive messaging, and hopefully neither do you, because she goes through and deletes comments that she thinks have crossed a boundary. And so shout out to Lyra, also the first member on the channel, a pillar of the community, some might say. And then the second early member was Swinkly. He's making a game called Lost Resolve, which is like a action speedrunner pixel art 2D platformer thing. It's more about speedrunning than like a combat, since Isadora's Edge is very combat focused. His looks very movement focused, and I think the movement looks really good. Watching him play through it in his devlogs, like I really like the zipline mechanic. I've been trying to make a zipline mechanic in Isadora's Edge for a long time, and I haven't been able to get it feeling really good, like up to my standard of quality, but his implementation of the zipline seems really good, so it seems like he's really locked in on making those awesome speedrunning mechanics. So his game is on Steam if you want to go and wishlist it. Shout out to Swinkly and Lost Resolve on Steam if you want to go wishlist it. That would be huge to him, obviously, but also huge to me to support a member of the community. So I probably won't be able to do super special shout outs like this in the middle of all my videos. I think it would get a little obtrusive. But for these early members, I thought it was cool, especially because they signed up so fast. But yeah, any support for the channel, either on Patreon or as a channel membership, like means the world to me. It's really making it possible for me to continue doing this. A year ago, I really thought I might not be able to continue working on Isadora's Edge the way I had been, because it was taking up so much time and I was really struggling to get anywhere. So having this community behind me right now, even if you can't monetarily support, just watching the videos and like leaving comments and stuff and wish listing the game on Steam, it's so incredible to me, the like outpouring of support I've gotten from this community. So I don't want to get too sappy, because otherwise I'll cry, because I am a big baby. But yeah, thank you to everyone. I've been recording for 12 minutes. This was supposed to be like a 3-minute interlude. So if you're interested, check out the Patreon, check out the channel memberships, and back to the regularly scheduled content. And I also just realized, when I saw that it was 12 minutes, I looked at my monitor and realized I'm wearing the same shirt as the original devlog, which was absolutely happenstance, not intentional, but I guess good for continuity. Anyway, back to the content. Now, I need to cover some important questions, because I mentioned that I was planning on doing a jam and a community post, and it already got a whole bunch of questions, and I think it's important for everyone to know the answer to these. You can also find these answers on the itch page, but in case you just want them right now. First, is the jam limited to the Godot Game Engine? No, you can use literally whatever game engine you want. For example, I saw a comment from @SNES Mocha that says they wanted to make a game for this jam using the game engine that they made themselves, and I think that that's awesome. That's really cool. So as long as the game can be played in browser or on Windows with a mouse and a keyboard and has an English option so that I can read it, then it's good to go, no matter what you use to make it. Which brings me to the second question, which is, can you use pre-made assets, like stuff you made before the jam, stuff you bought in asset packs? And yeah, that's totally fine. You can download assets during the jam to use, and whether you buy them for free, and whether you get them for free or buy them, as long as you have the like legal rights to use an asset, it's fair game for the jam. Now, don't like make a bunch of assets ahead of time to like prep for the jam so that you have like a bunch of different sprites, but if you want to download a bunch of asset packs ahead of time, that's fine. And if you like have been practicing your art and you happen to make some art that you think would fit the game you want to make, like stuff like that is totally cool. Just don't do like prep work, because that's not really the point. Third question. Now the third question is, how will the game be judged? So there's going to be 3 criteria for people to rate your game on: fun, presentation, and creativity. Fun is basically just the enjoyment of the game. Was it literally fun to play? Was it a rewarding challenge? Was it an emotionally resonant story? This category is just generically grading the gameplay. Did you like the game? The second is presentation. This is about graphics, art style, music, sound effects, anything that counts as presentation of the game. How well is it presented? I'm a big fan of the game designer Matt Colville, and he always says that presentation is a part of design. And I think that's really great advice. Fucking teleprompter so useless, man. Has a note that says riff raffy about Nubby's Number Factory. You don't have to have incredible art skills. You don't have to be able to make the prettiest game of all time. It just needs to like be presented well. I think a great example of that is Nubby's Number Factory, which is a game that I think is pretty objectively extremely ugly. But the presentation is still good because all of the weird and awkward graphics like suit the gameplay style and like the general vibe of the game, and everything works well together. So you can totally go for that sort of style. You don't have to be a genius artist. You could really focus on the soundtrack and the music or the sound effects, or you could even like have like basic shapes that you use, like you play as a square and you're fighting against other squares or whatever. And as long as the game is presented nicely, it's fine. You don't have to have the most beautiful pixel art of all time. But if your game is totally beautiful, then that works too. And then the third factor is creativity. This is a combination of how well your idea merges with the theme of the jam, and then how unique or interesting the design of the game overall is. If you come up with a really cool and interesting main mechanic, or your game is a super interesting take on the theme, then those kind of things can earn you a lot of points for creativity. But I also want to say that I'm extremely permissive when it comes to interpretation on the theme of the jam. As long as the idea for the game comes to you when you're thinking about what to make for the jam, then it's good with me. I will not disqualify anyone for not meeting the theme, and I could even choose a winner as someone who has like a really low creativity score that the game doesn't really match the theme as well, just because I think it's really good. So as long as you make a game for the jam, you're good. And I also have had some people ask me what the theme is going to be, but that's a secret. That'll be revealed right when the jam begins on July 11th. Now, fifth, do you have to work alone or as a solo developer? Those are the same thing, alone or as a solo developer. Do you have to work alone or can you work with a team? You can totally work with a team. Now, there will be a maximum team size, which is 4 people. I think that's a pretty fair size. Whenever I would enter a game jam and see that there was a team of like 15 people, I would get pretty discouraged that I had to compete against a team of 15 people as just me. But I think that a team of 4 is totally reasonable for competitiveness. To qualify for the beginner award, if you're a team, everyone on the team needs to be a beginner. But you can join more than one team if you really want to. For example, if you were trying to get into making music for games and you think you'd have the time during the jam to make several songs, then you could totally join like 2 or 3 teams and just make the music for all of their games. I think that the vast majority of people will just join one team or work entirely by themselves, but there's no rule against being on multiple teams. I would advise against it and just focus on the one game, but do whatever your heart desires. Question 6. Can you continue working on your game after the jam? And absolutely. I have no claim over anything you make for the jam. I might feature it in a YouTube video if you win, or a runner-up or something, or I might play it on stream, but the game is all yours. You can't update it on itch during the judging period, but outside of that one small caveat, you're totally free to do whatever you want with your game. Now, the other questions I saw a lot were stuff like, where's the jam hosted, and is there going to be an official Discord? Stuff that we already covered, but if you are even remotely considering entering the jam, then I'd recommend going to sign up at itch.io/shoveljam2025 like right away, and joining the official Inbound Shovel Discord for announcements, just so that you don't miss anything. And that's basically everything I wanted to cover about the jam itself. But I did want to make a quick note on the development of Isadora's Edge, because that is usually the focus of this channel. And some people have asked me when the next devlog is going to be coming out. Now, it has been a while since I released a devlog, but that's mostly because we've been working on content for the game. It's much easier to make a devlog for like a new system or a new feature or something, but we've been hunkering down and really focusing on like enemies, boss fights, level design, stuff that's not as easy to show in a devlog. For example, you saw the thumbnail of this video, which was this awesome promotional drawing from the extremely talented Byako, and I'll link his Twitter in the description. But that drawing includes a character that I haven't introduced to you yet, which is Chim. He's one of the major NPCs in the game. He's hugely important in the story, and you can see his actual sprite work right here. He's Isadora's sidekick. He pilots the airship that Isadora uses to get between the levels of the game, and obviously we had to develop his character and write his story and all that stuff, but I couldn't really think of a good way to make a devlog all about Chim. Now, maybe I could write up a video talking about the NPCs and some general story stuff, leave me a comment about what kind of stuff you'd want to see about the development process. I think Chim had some really cool concept sprites, and the changes he went through were interesting, so maybe I could do a sort of roundup video where I just show off a selection of content changes. I don't know, let me know what you think about that. Actually, it's not in my script, but since writing the script, I did enable memberships on my YouTube channel, and I'm planning on, after filming this, setting up like a Patreon and stuff, so maybe those would be a good home for those like content updates where I can just show off some of the stuff and talk about it briefly and post it, but it doesn't have to be as like polished and produced as like a main channel devlog type video. Yeah, let me know what you think about that too. Anyway, back to the script. On that point, I'm currently wrapping up another devlog about making levels for the game, so you can expect to see that coming soon. That's enough about Isadora. The focus of this video is the game jam, and I'm really, really excited about it. So I hope to see you enter, so let's have a great jam. Come on and slam. I don't know. Am I actually allowed to say that? Am I going to get like copyright strike? Well, all right. Anyway, peace. Go join the jam. See ya.